Is she the biggest draw in women's tennis right now?
Yes.
Is she bigger than Sabalenka? Is she bigger than Coco?
Dude, it's crazy. She's having the same effect that Fonseca was having, like, on the men's side last year in Miami.
Sam Querrey just said something that has the entire tennis world standing still. And when Querrey talks, you listen. Not because he needs the attention, but because this is a man who lived inside professional tennis for over a decade, who competed on the biggest courts in the world, who has been in locker rooms, in press rooms, and on practice courts with the best players this sport has ever seen. He understands star power not as a concept, but as something he has personally witnessed up close. And right now, he is looking at everything happening across the WTA Tour and arriving at a conclusion that is turning heads across the entire sport. He is saying Alex Eala is the biggest draw in women's tennis. Period. Not the player with the most titles, not the one sitting at the top of the rankings, the one that makes people lose their minds the moment her name appears on a draw sheet, the one that makes fans book flights, the one that turns a regular tour stop into something that feels like a Grand Slam final. And Querrey is not hedging. He is not saying one of. He is drawing a line in the sand and placing Alex Eala on one side and everyone else on the other. That is where this story begins.
It's like Fonseca, but I think it's bigger than Fonseca.
It is, yeah, it is.
Like the Doha, crowds were insane for her last week.
Yeah.
Correct.
She's definitely one to watch, obviously because she's so good, but just for the atmosphere. You want to tune into her matches just to see what it's like on the court.
There's got to be like a little jealousy maybe from some of the women. That girl's coming in, she's not top 10, biggest star in the world.
Putting that claim in full context is important, because when someone says Alex Eala is the most magnetic presence in women's tennis, the natural question is, bigger than who exactly? Bigger than Aryna Sabalenka, the world number one, a multiple Grand Slam champion who has been absolutely dominant for the past 2 years? Bigger than Coco Gauff, the reigning US Open champion, one of the most marketed and recognizable athletes on the entire planet? Those are massive names, players with trophies, endorsements, and years of built-up recognition behind them. Querrey's answer to all of it is yes. Not in terms of ranking points, not in terms of titles won, but in terms of what actually moves people. What makes someone buy a ticket they had no intention of buying? What makes a crowd inside an arena sound like nothing you have ever heard before at a regular season tournament?
Well, she's being told X, Y, and Z, and I don't think get out of there. Well, the crowd are seeing the pictures on the big screen.
Super happy.
Totally understand the emotion right now.
Carlos Alcaraz at Miami last year is the comparison being made. If you were watching tennis at that time, you already know exactly what that means. Alcaraz walked into that tournament and transformed it. The energy shifted, the crowds were different. The noise, the electricity, the sense that something historic could happen at any moment, all of it was dialed up to a level that a normal tour event simply does not reach. People pointed at that and said this young man is doing something to this sport that goes beyond tennis. Those same people are now watching Alex Eala and making the exact same statement. Some are going further, saying she is doing it even bigger. Let that land for a moment. Alcaraz is one of the most electrifying young players the men's game has produced in a generation. Comparing anyone to what he generates in a crowd is not a small thing. Respected voices inside this sport are making that comparison without blinking.
I don't want this to be the end for his career. I want him to keep going and see if he can maybe even catch Djokovic. He's got a long way to go to do that, obviously, with 24. But the one thing with Alcaraz that's so amazing to me is he wins the big moments in every match that he plays. He wins the five-setter.
Evidence is driving every word of this. Look at what happened in Doha. The crowds that showed up for Eala's matches were not what you expect from a tournament in February. They were not politely enthusiastic. They were not respectfully attentive. Full stop. Genuinely, deeply, passionately invested in every single point, that is what they were. The volume inside that arena when she stepped on court was the kind players spend their entire careers chasing. The kind that makes the hairs on your arms stand up. The kind that tells you without anyone saying a word that something special is happening right here, right now, and you are lucky to be inside it.
I'm a person, and I feel like, people will like you for who you are if you are true to yourself.
Hi
Hi everyone, I just wanted to come on here and thank every single one of you for your support, taking the time and effort out of your day to be there and cheer me on with the other girls. It means so much, especially at this time of the year. I couldn't thank you more, and I had such a fun time playing here.
Doha is not a one-off. This is not one lucky week where the crowds happen to be loud. Every time Alex Eala walks onto a court at any tournament anywhere in the world, the pattern repeats itself. People show up, people travel. People who had absolutely no plans to attend a WTA event suddenly find themselves searching for tickets the moment her name appears in the draw. That kind of pull is not manufactured. It cannot be replicated by a marketing campaign. It comes from something real, something that connects with people at a level that goes far deeper than tennis. Jessica Pegula understands exactly what that connection feels like from the other side of the net. One of the most experienced competitors on the WTA Tour, Pegula has played in front of massive crowds at the biggest tournaments in the world. She is not easily rattled. She is not someone who walks into a match unprepared for atmosphere. Yet when she stepped onto the court against Eala at the Miami Open last year, she said she was genuinely caught off guard by what she experienced. She described the electricity in that building as insane. She had not prepared herself for it. She had not expected what was waiting for her inside that venue. Not a complaint, she was marveling. Standing inside that moment and recognizing she was witnessing something her career had not shown her before. What she said next made it even clearer. Across every tournament where she had observed Eala play, Miami, the Australian Open, Dubai, the story never changed. Largest crowds, loudest venue, longest lines stretching outside the gates, most passionate, most invested support, consistently, every time, without a single exception. That is not a hot streak, that is not a moment, that is an identity.
Thank you, Jasmine, she says. Paolini gracious as ever in defeat. The former champion is out. Alexandra Eala. What are you going to do next? That is some win.
Super happy.
Totally understand the emotion right now.
This was definitely one of the bigger Filipino turnouts. Also, New York was huge. It was tough because it also depends what court you're on, that you feel the noise and things.
Alex Eala has become the player people simply cannot afford to miss, regardless of the round, the opponent, or what the draw sheet says about the stakes. Then Novak Djokovic entered the conversation. That kind of endorsement carries a specific weight in this sport. The greatest tennis player in history does not speak in vague terms. He looked directly at Alex Eala's situation and called her the greatest tennis player the Philippines has ever produced.
I saw the other day with Alex Eala, that's been a talk, and which is understandable. There's some players coming from respective countries, like she's coming from Philippines. Having too much crowd on this or any other tennis tournament is a very good problem to have. That it was, maybe a poor schedule, and maybe they could schedule him on a bigger court. Yes, but again, she's Alex Eala, that's been a talk.
He acknowledged the scale of what her presence means, not just for her country, but for the global sport. He specifically raised the point that her court assignments and scheduling at various tournaments have not reflected her actual status or her drawing power. He was saying plainly that she deserves bigger stages, more recognition. Tournament organizers need to respond to what fans are telling them with their feet, their wallets, and their voices. Pressure followed those words immediately. That is what happens when Djokovic speaks. It does not just validate what fans already knew. It puts the entire infrastructure of the sport on notice. The demand around Alex Eala is real. It is undeniable, and anyone still treating her like a routine draw simply has not been paying attention. Here's where the story reaches another level entirely. Analysts tracking all of these threads are not stopping at crowd numbers and venue energy.
This was a massive spot to be in for such a young talent, to have a sold-out crowd completely behind her.
Eala from the Philippines could be the next big thing in pro tennis.
This is the goal, to do well on the WTA Tour. I'm super proud of what I was able to accomplish, but the end goal is to win slams.
Forward-looking is where their attention has shifted. Her trajectory, her development, her growing ability to compete with and dismantle the very best players on tour. Their conclusion carries enormous weight. Winning a Grand Slam in 2025 would make Alex Eala the subject of one of the most significant moments professional tennis has seen in decades. Picture that moment, not just for the Philippines, not just for Asia, for the entire global sport and every audience it has been trying to reach for years. A young woman from a country that has never produced a Grand Slam champion, already generating crowds that surpass the world number one, standing on the sport's biggest stage and lifting a trophy.
Oh, all the emotions are coming because the tension was so high, especially during that second set. She's a great opponent, obviously being top 10 and a former champion here. So to be able to compete with her at this level is a great achievement for me.
Energy like that, you don't get tired, so it was good.
And Alex, so good to have you out here for the first time. How special was that?
Having too much crowd on this or any other tennis tournament is a very good problem.
The narrative writes itself. Images travel everywhere. People who have never watched a single tennis match in their lives suddenly want to know who this person is and how she got there. That is the kind of moment that rewrites a sports relationship with an entire part of the world. That is the kind of moment that creates fans who never leave. Realists are making this prediction, not dreamers, people looking at what Eala has already accomplished and building logically from real evidence, bringing every thread together now. Query ignited this conversation with something bold, that Alex Eala is the most magnetic draw in women's tennis right now, bigger than the world number one, bigger than the reigning US Open champion. Rather than being challenged and walked back, that claim has been picked up and amplified by active players, by legends, by analysts, and by the crowds themselves who keep showing up in numbers that speak louder than any opinion ever could. Rankings will catch up eventually. Titles may well follow. What is already unfolding around Alex Eala in real time at tournaments across the world does not wait for either of those things to be legitimate. It is already legitimate. It is already real. It is already changing how people experience this sport.
The big courts with big names, it's difficult. It's not easy to manage that, but again, it's a good problem to have, to be honest. Let's just imagine if there's a lack of people coming, or that stands are empty. That's a bigger problem.
I do my best. I do what I can, and just if I see an opening, I think it's important that I go for it.
Query called her the biggest draw in women's tennis. Djokovic made his position clear. She deserves better from a sport profiting from her presence. Pegula walked off a court against her, unable to stop talking about what she had just experienced. Fans from the Philippines and every corner of the globe keep packing these arenas and making noise that shakes the walls, saying all of it without using a single word. This is where Alex Eala stands today. Every data point, every testimony, every sold-out venue points in one direction. This is only the beginning of what she is about to do to this sport.